Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? I am a woman who is aged 38 years old, and I want to confess that I went and I spoke with this other herbalist, and after I had spoken with that herbalist, I was then given some charms so that I will be able to control my husband. My story in detail, it goes on like this. I got married, and the first time that I got married, God blessed me with my only child. And after God had blessed me with my only child, then my mom, she was never a straight woman. This I knew, and she did not like my first husband because he was someone who didn't have any money at all. My mom, as for my mom, she has entered into several relationships. Legally, she got married 3 times. By the time that I got married the second time, that was when she was married the 3rd time. So when I was now staying with my husband, my mom then followed me, and when she followed me, what she was doing was not right, because she was insulting my husband as well as insulting his relatives. That was when my husband's relatives said it was far much better for me to be taken back to my own people. That was when I returned back to my own people. God had mercy on me when I was staying with my mom at her place. That was when I met another man, and me and that man, we got married to each other legally. And after that, my husband then lost his job. So I then went and I started staying in this other area in Chirezi called Triangle. That was where we were staying. Life was very difficult because as for my husband, he was working at this other sugar plantation. But the problem was that even though he was taking care of me, but he was like a prostitute. He was always with different women, and he didn't even care about anything. So here in Chirezi, I then spoke with another traditional healer who gave me some herbs. And these herbs, they were supposed to make him to calm down so that he would only look at me. When I tried to use those charms, I saw that the charms were not working at all. I then decided to return back to that traditional healer, and I said, my husband is not changing his ways, and I can see that the charms that you have given me, they are not working. Why are they not working, oh powerful one? Then that traditional healer said the reason as to why the charms were not working, it was because I had not sacrificed anything to the ancestors. At least I had to pour some brewed traditional beer onto the ground. This was going to be my sacrifice. So I asked for some money from my husband. I lied to him that I wanted to go and visit my mom, but all that time I was staying at the traditional healer's house. I would only come out at night. I was given this small bucket. Whenever I wanted to do poo, I'll just do poo in that bucket or urinate throughout the day. When it was during night time, that is when I will come out. I didn't want my husband to know that I was at that traditional healer. Since me and my husband, we were staying in that same area where that traditional healer was staying, so I was scared that people were going to gossip about me. That traditional healer then gave me some herbs, but he said that these herbs that I have given you, they are not going to work like on your husband directly, but they are going to be working indirectly. He wanted my husband to forget about his relatives so that he can give me money. When I saw that these charms were working, that was when I decided to visit another traditional healer. Since this healer that I was working with, he was very slow in his dealings. I wanted someone who was going to give me charms that were going to work like fast. I went to another traditional healer. So this traditional healer that I went to, he was open enough with me, and he said that if I wanted something that was very powerful, any charm, I actually had to sacrifice some blood. I said, what type of blood? He said, any blood you are going to choose. If you want to start with a chicken, it is fine. Brother Nashi, when he had said that if you want to start with a chicken, I should run with my life, because anything that has a beginning, it also has an ending. So I decided to start this project with a chicken. We took that chicken and we looked for any grave that belonged to a stranger, but this stranger was supposed to be a woman. So we went there at night and we slaughtered that chicken. I then collected some soil, like at the place where I had slaughtered the chicken. I took that soil that had been mixed with the blood of that chicken that I had slaughtered, and we returned back to that traditional healer's house, and I had that small container that had the mud that was mixed with the blood of that chicken that I had slaughtered. And I returned back to my husband, just like he had told me to do. I did everything that he had said. I cooked for my husband, and when I was serving dinner for my husband, I took just a little bit of the soil and I started to sprinkle it into his soft porridge, and he started eating. And each and every day when I would be cooking, this is what I was doing until I had finished off all of the soil that I had taken from that woman's grave. So the way that these charms were going to work, whenever my husband will be looking at me, he will actually see me as a very beautiful woman. I'm not saying that I am not beautiful, but there is that level of beauty whereby there is a lot of spirituality that is involved. My husband then started loving me more than he used to, and he stopped dating all of these women. Anything that I wanted him to do for me, he'll end up doing that thing for me. I never knew that this thing was going to have an ending. So there was a time when my husband had said that he wanted us to buy a residential stand there in Masvingo, and this is what we decided to do. When we went there, to my surprise, my husband then said that to my surprise, when we went there, when we were busy filling up the papers, my husband then said that he wanted this house to belong to my child, just in case if he was going to die. He did not want his relatives to steal this house from me. And I knew that indeed these charms were working. I never even bothered myself to return back to that traditional healer to renew these charms because they had expired. When I saw that my husband, he had started to chase after women again, I then visited another healer who gave me more charms, but very different from the charms that I had used. And when I saw that now my husband, he was getting out of control, I wanted to control him again like I had done before. I then thought of that same herbalist who had assisted me before. I went to his compound and I told him that this is what my husband is now doing. That healer then said, it is time for me to look at your life and let me see if these charms are still powerful. He then told me that for about a year, these charms had expired and I was supposed to return with these charms to him before I had messed them up. I said, how did I mess them up? He said, the moment that you entered into another traditional healer's consulting room, this meant that you messed up my charms. So for me to accept these charms, it is going to be very tricky because I do not know the type of herbs that he used when he was giving you all of these charms to make your husband to stop cheating on you. Brother Nashi, that man then said, the only thing that I can do is that I can give you something else on top of these charms. This charm that I am going to give you, it is a charm that is very powerful, that can destroy all of these charms that you already have. Brother Nashi, out of desperation, I refused because I said, what are my options? And he said that your options are quite slim. You need a charm that is going to fight in your own corner. That was when I was given a tokoloshi, not knowing that those two charms that I had been given, like those spirits, the spirit of that woman, like that soil that I took from her grave, when I took that soil, I had invited a spirit to come into my marriage, into my life. So she is more like a tokoloshi, a spirit that follows me around. Then when I went to another traditional healer, trying to chase away the spirit of this dead woman that I do not even know, that traditional healer also gave me another spirit that can fight with this spirit of that woman that I do not even know. So there were two spirits that were fighting against each other. So this healer was saying, let me give you another spirit of a dead man who is more powerful. He is actually going to fight in your corner and you will be fighting against these two spirits. So I was then given the charm that I was supposed to wear around my waist for a period of time and I was supposed to remove it, but that charm, it just disappeared. I don't know if this healer trapped me or what exactly happened, but I suspect that he bewitched me. Anyway, when I returned back to my own husband after I had accepted this charm that I was supposed to tie around my waist and keep it there at all the times, and after I had found out that it was no longer there, Brother Nashi, late at night, I started to hear that there were people that were throwing stones on top of our house. My husband will go outside and he will say that he was seeing a very small child, like a little man, but he said that maybe it was his imagination. I got scared, for I knew where this was coming from, and I returned back to that traditional healer. But when I returned to this healer, it was in the beginning of this year. That is when I returned there. So I spoke with that healer and I told him that this is what has been happening. Then the traditional healer told me that it is time for me to make a sacrifice. I said, what type of a sacrifice? Must I buy another chicken, or what do I need to sacrifice? That traditional healer then said that at least if you can give me your child, then when your child would have died, then I am going to take her spirit so that she will not die, like physically die. She will almost be like a zombie. Then this traditional healer is going to use my child for his rituals. If anyone comes looking for money, then he will give that person that will be looking for this money making rituals, then my child will work for that person as a tokoloshi. This is what I have to do in order for me to live. And he said, if you do not want to sacrifice your child, then know that your days on earth are numbered, because when we did these rituals, I tied your life to my shrine. You cannot deny me your child because you are tied to my shrine. He said that with the snap of my finger, you can fall down dead, so you can go and enjoy your life. Just give your child a good time before you bring her back here into my shrine, when I would have told you that it is time for her to die so that I can start using her. This is the situation that I am facing. What will it even help when I would have lost my own child just because I want my husband to treat me very well? I do not want him to cheat on me. I then said to that traditional healer, I know that you have tied my soul and my life to your shrine, but if it is possible, can you reverse this deal that we have done so that I can remain with only that spirit of that woman? If my husband is going to cheat on me, let him cheat on me, but three spirits possessing my body, I cannot do that. Can you try to reverse this covenant that I had with you? And he laughed at me and he said that this covenant cannot be broken. The example that he gave me, he said, can God break the covenant that he has with Israel? If he can break it, then it means that I'll also break that covenant that I have with you. He said that these spiritual covenants, once they are signed, they cannot be broken just like that. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by our dear sister. She's saying that this is what the traditional healer told me for the sake of love.